you want your fighter gameplay to look like this, but right now it looks a lot more like this. Well, that makes sense. Bite by Night had its first update just the other day, so you're probably using him at the wrong place and wrong time. So I'm here to give you a general rundown of Fighter, going through the basics all the way to higher level plays. I have played too much in this game. To start off stage 1, we're talking about the swing. It's his easier ability to use, and it's the one that has the most straightforward supporting utility. The starting charge you get is honestly the most people end up hitting most of the time. People really suck, and for whatever reason, everyone's playing him lately. All 3 charges of the swing deal a 3-second stun, but the amount of charges will determine which additional effects you deal with the killer. The 1 charge having just the stun. At 2 charges, you get the killer blindness. It's much weaker than the blindness you get from Toontrap Scream, but it's still a blind. At 3 charges, you give them the stun and inverted controls, so forward is back, right is left. You get it. A common mistake I see people do with the swing is they forget it lunges you forward, and it'll lunge you further if you're still holding forward during the swing. This also means you can redirect where your swing is going in the middle of the animation, and you can turn 180 degrees while the animation's out. Moving on from the swing, his parry's in my opinion the much harder piece of this kit, but most of the time it's the much stronger option. The parry is completely invincible the frame you press it, and if the killer hits you, they're stunned for 2 seconds. Missing your parry is the much more common outcome, especially with current players, and you will be slaughtered for it. When you miss a parry, you get the weakness debuff, which makes you take more damage for 2 seconds. I haven't seen anyone with the specific amount of extra damage you take, but if I had to guess, it's probably close to 1 1/3 times.
But it feels like more a lot of the time.
You can't parry any projectiles, but there are some half exceptions to that rule. The main 2 being Entered Grab and Springtrap Axe Throw. The Axe Throw being weird because he has a melee hitbox before the projectile comes out, and that's what you can parry. I'll leave these up on the screen for people who just want to skip through and read it quickly. To start out stage 2, I'm bringing up the selfish playstyle. Now when I say selfish, I don't always mean the players that sit in a corner and do nothing. That isn't a playstyle, it's just being bad at the game. What I mean by playing selfish is using your abilities to specifically make you live longer. It turns Fighter into more of a survivalist class instead of a harassing class. This isn't bad necessarily, you just have to live long enough for your team to finish the generators or until the killer switches off of you. The next playstyle we're talking about is the poke style. You can call it whatever you want, but poke makes the most sense to me. Regardless of the name, this style is based on you running in to stun or parry at any point in time, and then running away until it's your time to shine again. This style is a lot more based on being a supporting player instead of being the center of attention. This playstyle can be very risky though. If you miss your parry while you're trying to get in the way, the killer might just switch onto you after dealing that extra damage. Next up is the shielding playstyle, which is the main one I try to use. This playstyle is entirely based on protecting your team through any means necessary. The very basic way of doing this is waiting until you see the killer use an ability to prepare for an extra hit. For Springtrap, it's his Hot Breath ass grab. For Entered, it's his Mr. Fantastic ass move. And for Mimic, it's both his drill and his grab. It's difficult to explain with words, so here's a quick clip of what it looks like. The last playstyle I'll be going into is objectively the best one. I don't really have a name for it, so I just call it a harasser. Basically, it's just doing all of the previously mentioned playstyles, but being able to switch between them whenever you need to. This is by far the hardest one to consistently perform at, as it requires the most brain power to perform.
Which, if we're being real, not a lot of players have that right now.
Being a harasser as Fighter is what he was meant to do in the first place, as he's the only real stunner in the game right now, and his parry lets him be an absolute nuisance if he can effectively get in the way of the killer and hold a chase by himself. The general mindset Fighter needs to have is what do you do based on which playstyle you're focusing on at the moment. If you're trying to poke around, stick by the killer, just not too close, and wait for a good time to run in. If you're just trying to live, completely ignore what your team is doing and focus on the killer and make sure he stays away from a certain area. If you want to be the hero and shield your team from damage, make sure you're actually putting yourself in between your teammates and the killer. Standing around waiting for your teammates to run to you for help is the same as a medic sitting in a corner expecting people to know where they are. That's pretty much all for stage 2. Getting used to switching between playstyles, it's more than likely going to be the biggest hurdle for most people. But once you can really get that down, your results will drastically improve. That's pretty much all there is with Fighter. If you can get these points down, he's a very versatile character, so you can start getting some crazy clip-worthy plays pretty quickly. The only time I would suggest not playing him when you want to is when there are already more than 3 in your lobby. At that point, it becomes you all fighting over who's gonna get the parry first, and then things like this happen. But yeah, other than that, Fighter is really strong. I personally think he's only second to Medic purely because Medic has the most general utility. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Now go out and make all of your Innards rage quit.